Welcome to The Explainer. From the election polls flashing on your screen to the you might also like suggestions that seem to read your mind, our world literally runs on data. But have you ever stopped to ask where it all comes from? Let's trace that information right back to its source. I mean, think about it for a second. How can anyone really know what millions of people are thinking about a new policy, or predict what thousands of completely different customers are going to want to buy next month? It sounds impossible, but it's not magic. It all comes down to the careful, systematic journey of data collection. This is the absolute bedrock of every major decision. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly how that foundation gets built. All right, before we dive into the how, let's really lock in the why. Because put simply, any successful decision, whether you're in business, science, or government, depends entirely on having accurate, reliable data. If you get the collection part wrong, everything that follows is basically built on sand. So, you need data. The very first choice you have to make as a researcher is a big one. It's a fork in the road. Do you go out and gather brand new information yourself, or do you use information that somebody else has already put together? And this brings us to this core distinction, primary versus secondary data. Think of it like cooking. Primary data is like you, going out to the garden, picking your own vegetables, and making a salad from scratch. It's fresh, and it's exactly what you wanted for your meal. Secondary data, that's like using a pre-made salad dressing you bought at the store. Super convenient for sure, but it was made by someone else for a different purpose, and you have to decide if it really works for your dish. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It captures that relationship perfectly. The key takeaway here is that data isn't inherently one or the other. It's all about your relationship to it. The results of my primary survey today become your secondary data tomorrow. Okay, so let's say that existing data just won't cut it for your project. You've decided you need fresh primary data. So, what's in the researcher's toolkit? How do you actually go out there and get it? Well, it really boils down to two main approaches. You can observe, just watching and recording what happens without asking anything, or you can ask, using a questionnaire. Now, simply watching people can be really powerful, but the questionnaire is the absolute superstar of data collection. Why? Because it lets you ask about beliefs, opinions, and history, stuff you could never ever just see. But here's the catch. How you deliver that questionnaire changes everything. It's this constant trade-off. A personal, face-to-face interview, it gives you incredible accuracy and you can clarify any confusion right on the spot. But man, is it slow and expensive. Mailing a survey, great, you can cover the whole country pretty cheaply. But what if your respondents can't read well or just don't bother to reply? And a phone call, it's fast and less expensive, but you're limited to people with phones and you can't exactly ask them 40 complex questions, right? There's no single best answer, there's only the best answer for your project. Since questionnaires are so incredibly common, let's zoom in a bit. Because here's the absolute truth. A survey is only as good as the questions it asks. The success or failure of your entire investigation hinges on how well this one document is designed. It's a huge deal. You can't just write down some questions and hope for the best. It's a serious three-step process: design, pre-test, and edit. And that middle step, the pre-test, or what they call a pilot survey, is the one people are so tempted to skip. But don't do it. This is where you find out that your perfectly clear question actually confuses everyone. Skipping this step is the fastest way to collect a whole lot of useless data. So why is that pre-testing so vital? Let me show you with an example. Imagine your survey asks this seemingly simple question: are you literate? What does that even mean? To one person, it might mean, can you read and write? To someone else, it could mean, did you finish university? You'll get answers back, sure, but the data will be a total mess because everyone is answering a different invisible question. Now look at this, the improved version. By giving specific, unambiguous, multiple-choice options, every single person who answers understands the question in the exact same way. This is how you get clean, consistent, and genuinely useful data. Night and day, right? So, designing a great questionnaire really comes down to a few golden rules. The first rules are all about respecting the person answering. Keep it short, use simple, clear language. Then, you have to think about trust. Avoid overly personal questions if you can, and always include a cover letter. You gotta explain why you're asking and promise their information is confidential. People are way more likely to help you out if they know why and feel safe. Okay, so you've decided on your method and you've designed a killer questionnaire. Now for the final major decision, who do you actually give it to? What's the scale of this whole investigation? This is the classic choice between a census and a sample. A census is the full head count. You gather data from every single person or item in your group. It's kind of like trying to find out the flavor of a giant pot of soup by, well, drinking the entire pot. A sample is much, much smarter. You study just a representative spoonful to make a really good guess about the whole thing. And while a full census sounds perfect in theory, it's often way too expensive or just takes too long. And sometimes, as this quote shows, it's just plain impossible. I mean, imagine you test the durability of a car by crushing it. If you ran a census on your whole inventory, you'd have no cars left to sell. In cases like that, sampling isn't just a good idea. It's the only option you have. We've covered a ton of ground on this journey of collecting data. But before you can actually use that data to make a big, important decision, there's one last absolutely critical step. You gotta do a final quality check. If you're using secondary data, that's information someone else collected, you have to approach it like a detective. First, is it suitable? I mean, using a 2010 study on shopping habits to understand TikTok trends is obviously not going to work. Second, can you trust the source? Is it reliable? And finally, is it adequate? Does it actually cover the whole scope of the problem you're trying to solve? And hey, even if you collected the data yourself, the work isn't over. You have to edit it for quality. That means checking for completeness, do people skip important questions, and for consistency. You can't have someone who's listed as single who also has 3 children, right? You're looking for any of those red flags that could mess up your results, making sure every single piece of data is clean and trustworthy. So, when you boil it all down, it comes back to this one truth. From choosing your source, to crafting the perfect question, to deciding who to ask, every single step matters. Because good decisions require good data. And good data is never an accident. It's always the result of a deliberate and careful journey. So now you have the map for that journey. You know the process that creates the numbers that shape our world. The only thing left to ask is, now that you know how it's done, what question would you want to answer?